Greg Sutton, Chief Academic Officer and Chief of Student Services here for Hardin County Schools. And we're very excited because we're starting school this week, and the 2023-24 school year, and it was a fast summer. We had a lot going on here across the district, and there's always a lot of planning that leads up to the start of the school year, but we kind of forget when the school year ends and between the school year starting, there's a lot of things happening in Hardin County Schools, a lot of good things for kids. We're always thinking about sports and all these high school activities, but really there's a lot going on for elementary students and middle school students as well. So we're here with our Director of Innovation, Ms. Brandy New, here today, and we're just going to be talking about some of those opportunities that we have been offering students this summer prior to school starting. So tell us a little bit about your summer before we get started here, and just maybe some exciting things going on for you. Maybe how your summer was. Just give us a little feedback here.
We had STEM camps in June. That's one of my favorite parts of the year. Sorry, we worked this summer, right? We didn't do it. And then we did a lot of really cool professional development in July. So
that's why it was so fast.
It was fast.
She's right. We got out of school, it seemed like late May, early June. All these camps started for all the elementary students, and then it seemed like we hit professional development. Some PD we did in June. Then July seemed like it had been a great month of PD. Some of the best professional development we've ever had. And I want to thank our teachers, our principals, and all of our leaders for making this, in my opinion, the best summer we've had in terms of instructional leadership and preparing ourselves for success in the next school year. But just to kind of the first question, your position is always evolving. I think you were hired as Director of Innovation. It's one thing, and now it's another. So what do you see in your position moving forward as Director of Innovation? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so really excited about the project and problem-based learning, just that student focus, the student-centered focus that we are building in 6 through 12. We have trained about 230 teachers over the past 3 summers, and then supported them throughout. Now there'll be one group coming on this year that's fresh, but supporting about 120 others throughout the district for the past 2 years. So that's been both really exciting and a lot going on. Also really supporting our leaders in that work. I think at the end of the day, we've talked about this a lot of times, right? If we want to shift to a student-focused classroom and have those kids making, talking more and working together more and showing responsibility, that student agency, and being in control of their learning, then we have to learn how to kind of shift our leading that way too. So working with principals and you and I even and other people,
Sure.
Thinking about making a collaborative effort in decisions and what we've been going on. So
people always ask, how did we get here? How did we get to this point? Basically, our community partners out there, our community businesses are speaking to us, and our local leaders are saying, Mr. Sutton, we need students that are good communicators. Oral and written communication. We need students that are good collaborators.
Yeah.
We need students that can take those standards that you teach them and put that into knowledge and thinking and do that in a group setting. And let them bring their own skills to the table like we talk about with agencies. So when we talk about all these things, these opportunities we provide for kids, it all leads back to our community partners saying, this is what we want to see out of your graduates. And this year I know we're going to be doing a lot of work on portrait of a learner, portrait of a graduate is what some people call it, and we're trying to pull all this together, our project-based learning, our 5 learning outcomes, our portrait of a learner, and what we want to be able to put out there, in society after they leave Hardin County Schools. Now you mentioned one thing a while ago that stood out to me. You said in the month of June, there was a big focus on STEM. So going back to our STEM focus this summer, talk a little bit about what that looked like, because I believe we had a lot of schools that got involved in that this summer. Is that right?
100%. And I think our STEM camps it leads into everything else that we're talking about. And that is that, we're giving kids these real world opportunities, hands-on chances to manipulate something, figure out what they love, what they're good at, even, what's out there. So we had all 5 middle schools, 10 of our elementary schools that did a specific STEM camp this summer. Now there's lots of other things that go on in the summer. There's Camp Invention, and then there's some of our 21st century camps. But we had those 15 schools that specifically did at least a week of STEM camp. Most of them had at least 40 slots for kids. Some of them moved it, farther than that. Some of our schools did, but there were, yeah, those ran pretty much the month of June, giving kids, over 600 kids, an opportunity to middle schools. 4 of our middle schools focused on different types of energy and energy sources, and actually making something and using motors and batteries and solar and making it move. Speaking of solar, one of our community partners, Candela Renewables,
Sure.
gave a big donation to help buy the stuff, because when you're doing that kind of playing and manipulating, then the kids, it takes a lot of materials. So our middle schools, 4 of the middle schools did that. James T. Alton Middle School, they took their STEM camp in a little bit different direction, and they actually did some construction. And people often think that STEM, or when we say STEM jobs, that's for like, STEM's for really intelligent folks, or STEM's for people that are great at math, or STEM is for people who have 4-year degrees, and it's just not true. Like, any of the trades are super STEMmy, right? Like, they have the science, the technology, the engineering, the math, they use it all. So Alton actually used their funds from the Department of Defense, the DODEA STEM grant, and they did some construction, started renovating some of their dugouts and different things like that on their baseball field. So we had kids out there, or they had kids out there, learning how to roof and how to use a hammer and that kind of stuff. And then elementary schools, about 10 of our elementary schools, and people who ran the STEM camp this summer, and some of the STEM lab teachers, because we have about 5 elementary schools with STEM labs. They got some training from a partnership through DODEA too, with some folks who came from NASA. They're artists that work with the NASA. Anyways, so they did stuff with electricity, and it almost looked crafty, but it had some like electrical components or some different simple machines. And so just a more hands-on and mechanical approach in our elementary school STEM camps this year too. So that was really exciting.
Well, I want to ask you a few questions. When you talk about, I've heard you mention the DODEA grant, and I've heard you talk about Candela and a community partner there that came through. It was like how much money did they donate?
Candela was $25,000.
$25,000.
The DODEA grant is $750,000 over 5 years.
Okay.
So about 10 or 15,000 of that went to STEM camps for four of our schools on the north end that are have a lot of military connected kiddos.
So what you're saying is we're going to have access to some of these monies over the next 4 to 5 years through this DODEA grant.
For those 4 schools, for Alton,
those 4
Meadowview,
schools.
Woodland, North Middle.
Ray, did you help apply for that grant? Did you work with?
Yeah, we're in year 3 of that
Okay.
one. Doing different things, STEM nights, STEM camps, getting some after school clubs, and then just some stuff during the day too, to get
Okay.
access to resources for teachers and
So what
kids.
you're saying is we're not limited to just our summer STEM camps on this. The monies that we were able to get through this grant is actually focusing on after-school opportunities for kids. So maybe if you missed a summer camp, you can still get involved in some of these opportunities.
100%, yes.
This is great news. What about field trips? I always hear kids talk about. You just sit there and talked about James T. Alton Middle School doing construction. Kind of reminds me of we may have actually encouraged some students to think about our residential maintenance program.
Oh, yes, sir.
Our carpentry, HVAC, plumbing, electric, building. This may have, kind of sparked some interest in those areas. But when it comes to a field trip, did any of our kids get to have a field trip to maybe connect some of their learning to their opportunities?
Yes, we had some middle schools that went to the Louisville Science Center, which is super cool. Just to even further, broaden their horizon on what do we mean by different science and engineering topics. I should know more than this.
Well, no, but we also but there's more than just the student side. I'm going to kind of shift gears here just for a second. There's also these externships, what our teachers are doing. Can you kind of explain that a little bit as well? Some of the things our teachers are doing to
I think that was one of the most exciting things that I got to be a part of this summer.
Explain that for our community to understand that.
So myself and then Lisa Slavin, our district transition coach, kind of about 3 summers ago, Lisa wanted to offer a summer PD where we actually get our teachers out of the classroom, and for professional development during the summer, they go and visit local businesses. Because as teachers, we're preparing these kids for the real world, right, or the business world, but we aren't totally in tune with what's happening in a business 40 hours a week, what's actually going on inside the doors. So we did kind of teacher field trips. So this summer we had externships, which is where a teacher goes out for pay and works in different community businesses so that they get that real, like, in-depth look at what is going on inside a business. So we had 4 teachers who worked with the University of Louisville to do some advanced manufacturing stuff. Like, they went back and forth to the University of Louisville for 6 weeks this summer and learned about 3D printers and advanced manufacturing. They were on the line at Ford and on the line at GE and stuff like that. Then we had about 12 teachers. There was a partnership with us and HCEC, and they went to 4 advanced manufacturing sites. I should know these off the top of my head. I'm forgetting all words right now. It was Nucor and some of the other factories here in town. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. I should know these off the top of my head. I don't have them written down good. But anyways, so they went there and then went back to ECTC and got to see, like, okay, at ECTC, here's a 12, 18, or 2-year program that you could come to at ECTC that would then have you walking out the door there making well over a living wage somewhere at one of these advanced manufacturing facilities in Hardin County. And then there was a third, it was an application based this year, since both of those were kind of advanced manufacturing, which is huge in our area and in, you know, a definite place of need and something that we need to know more about. The fourth one was we took applications and placed 4 separate teachers in places that made sense for them. So we had a high school math teacher that went to Alltech. We had a middle school math teacher who wanted to think about financial literacy, so he worked at a bank for a week. And so we did some experiences like that so that we had a high school teacher who wanted to work with her special education students and think more about how can you go into the medical field, which pays really high, but not go to college. So she worked for a week at Baptist Health Hardin to look at, like, how much does a phlebotomist make and how much school is that, and how much does a EKG tech make and how much school is that, so that they can bring all that back and just really get in there and talk to our kids about, like, hey, did you know that you can make $22 an hour, I think it is, starting out at Baptist Health Hardin being a phlebotomist? And that's even something that you can do while you're at EC3 or shortly thereafter. So that one was really exciting, and a lot of those teachers have come back and just made some really cool connections.
So really what I'm trying to connect here is the fact that our students get opportunities for field trips, and they connect their learning to what they did in the classroom to something out there in the real world. Now we've got our teachers connecting to what I call adult field trips, in a sense, where they're getting out there and saying, are the standards that I'm teaching, is that really the skills they need to be successful out there on these job sites? And I think now that they've been out and seen what these companies are doing in our community, now they're going to bring that back to the classroom with them, which is going to enhance their teaching experiences and the learning experiences for the students.
Oh, 100%. And I think you were saying something earlier about, like, the project and problem-based learning we've been looking at 6 through 12. We have things going on preschool through 12th grade, but got to see some great things this summer with what we're doing with our math in elementary school, which is all about having kids to think and about discourse and getting them to talk, you know, the oral communication. Sorry, some special education PD that was all about oral communication. So I think that it's all the way through. We kind of have some through lines going through now. We're becoming more laser focused on what can we do for our kids. Yes, we know that they need content knowledge. The standards are always going to be what we teach.
Sure.
But what else can we do for them that is going to get them that leg up, or, you know, in the community or in the business world, and just based on what our community is telling us. So
a lot of times when we're teaching a standard, we have a tough time getting a kid to bring their personality out in that standard because they don't have a connection to it. But I saw a lot of kids this summer when I was observing some of these camps and they were doing these projects. You saw the passion come out in them, and when it came to the oral communication or the written communication, explaining what they did and how they did it, it was easy for them.
Yeah.
But because that was what they enjoyed. They enjoyed that learning experience. So I can't thank you enough for connecting with our community partners, keeping these grants going, providing opportunities. I don't remember a summer where we had 15 schools doing a STEM-focused camp. I can't remember a time where we had 15 of our 23 facilities doing. I mean, that's a lot.
It is a lot. It is a lot, yes.
Because if you remember last summer, the previous summer, we only did, I think, just...
It was mostly elementary. and then like maybe 1 or 2 middle. But yeah,
Right.
we've been trying and we're getting there. It's going to take continued support from the community because we try to do those at low or no cost for our students.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we don't want to set that up as a barrier. We're already providing buses, we're feeding them breakfast and lunch, and we try to give
Paying our
it.
teachers.
Yeah, we're paying
Right.
our teachers, and so we try to make sure that it's low or no cost for the kiddos too, so that anybody can come do that for a week. So that continued support from some of our community partners is going to be really important in the future, because those camps are a ton of fun and it gives kids an experience that they maybe wouldn't have otherwise to spark that interest, but it definitely takes dollars to do it.
Yeah, it's not free, but the good thing I think our community needs to know is once you purchase some of these materials that they
Yes.
use during these STEM camps, they're reusable. They can bring them back into their classroom and use them again.
And the knowledge is reusable. You know,
Right.
we had teachers who for the first time ever played with a DC motor and were like, well, I could be using this in class. And I'm like, yes, you can. You know, so it helps us to, even as adults, if it was something we never messed with, to put that and bring it into the classroom. So
Because today on this episode, I know of impacting learning and empowering students. You're going to be seeing and observing some of the work that our students completed this summer. You're going to be hearing from some of those students, and you're going to be hearing from some of those teachers. And we also hope they can hear from some of these teachers that did the externships too. That would kind of be good to kind of see how we're taking field trips to a different level for our students and our teachers across the district. But I guess my last question here today is just, what do you see as our if you had to say, I guess I should say this, if you could set one goal for this year, if you thought about your success criteria, what would it be this school year alone? You've mentioned so many things today, from project to problem-based learning to our STEM opportunities to our externships. But for you this year, what is a goal you have for yourself and what you want to accomplish?
first of all, that list, like I have the best job in the whole district. Shh, don't tell anybody. It's so much fun. But I think it's kind of unifying a lot of what I'm seeing that we have going on. I think instructionally, we have so much strong stuff going on. We always have, and we're just continuing to get better. And our teachers have always been teaching things besides the standards. You know, you're always teaching kids how to talk to each other and how to work, you know, collaborate and whatever. But I see that we're kind of unifying a lot of that as a district, which is just going to help us to build. It's just when we're all using the same language and we all have the same goals. So I think looking forward to our Portrait of a Learner and being able to clearly communicate to our community, this is what, you know, this is our goal, and this is parents and community members and teachers are working in unison to, when graduation comes, that a diploma means, you know, more than just the academic content. And what's that student look like that we're sending out into the world? So I think that that's going to be really exciting work this year.
I'm calling it connecting the dots.
Yes, sir.
Because if we can somehow get everybody to understand how we connect the dots with work ethic,
Yes.
with project and problem-based learning, and with our learning outcomes, and with our Portrait of a Learner, put it all together and say, this is what we want out of a Hardin County School graduate. And something I learned this summer, they said if you can ever think about when a kid is done with their educational experience, they talked about the 3 E's. They want to see them employed, enrolled, or enlisted.
Yes, sir.
And I think if we can somehow always help our kids feel confident to feel like they can go out and be employed in a good living wage job, be enrolled in a good learning opportunity, whether it be a 2-year, 4-year vocational school, or be enlisted in one of our armed forces, that would be just a great goal for every kid to feel that success when they leave our schools. So I want to thank Ms. New for being here with us today, and I appreciate you all joining us on this session of Impacting Learning and Empowering Students. And we know we're going to have a great start to the school year, actually tomorrow. So look forward to seeing everybody next month. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Miranda Cecil and I'm with Heartland Elementary. We have been having STEM camp here this week, so we've done lots of fun projects today. And yesterday we were working on the Automata theater boxes. So students started with a blank box and they got to decorate it how they chose and then turned it into whatever they wanted. So we have a school bus. This one's super cute. And then you can spin this, and one goes up and down and the other goes side to side. So there's one example of it. Students had so much fun getting to use magazines or different pieces of scrapbook paper. We put wheels on this one. And then here's another one. This one was like food-based. This one spins really good and goes up and down. So the kids have been having so much fun making these. We've had a really good week.
From one corner to another. You're going to make 2 triangles that look like this. Look up here, please. With your straw, you're going to leave a little bit of space. Okay, you're not going to glue it to the bottom because this part has to go down into the box. Do you see how mine is sitting on top? Caitlin, do you see that? Boys and girls, do you all see that? Yes. You're going to have a little bit of straw to stick down into that box.
This year for our summer STEM camp, we have 40 students that enrolled, wanting to come here to learn how to do some different STEM activities. We actually had planned for them to learn how to re-shingle a roof, learn how to build wood frames, how to install sliding door. Kids have been working on building behind me a 12-foot by 12-foot by 55-foot long netted batting cage so that our new softball and baseball programs will have a place to practice their batting. Inside the school, we've actually been working on building our own marshmallow shooters, learning a velocity unit. The students also got to participate and practice hydro dipping, which many of them have had interest in due to all the videos that are out there on YouTube. So they got to do that the other day. They'll be learning how to paint fishing lures with powder paint, and they'll actually get to go this Friday to Freeman Lake for the life science portion of STEM and get to try those out at Freeman Lake and see if they have any luck catching any of the fish out there. So we also been using some power sanders. Students back here actually got to use some jackhammer to bust through some of the bedrock to get down as deep as we had to go. And so they're learning a lot of life skills, a lot of things that I feel like the kids don't get an opportunity to learn these days. They're actually getting to participate here at STEM camp, and things have been going well. We've had 100% attendance every day. Everybody shows up every day, so that means we're doing some good things here. They're excited to be here. So a lot of good things that we've been excited about, and just can't wait to see when it's all finished.
I'm Corleen. I graduated from JTA and I'm going to North Hardin. And what we're doing over here is we're sanding down the wood on the dugout, so that way later on we can add paint. And there's also a new roof being added.
Hey, my name's Nick Ritter. I'm one of the APs here at JTA. We're doing a STEM camp this week with kids, getting them some hands-on experience in a real-world situation. We're actually working on a batting cage right now that we're having the kids build, something that's going to be here at the school that they can use for years to come. Repurposing the dugout down here for the baseball field. We've worked on fixing up the door on the concession stand right over here, trying to get all of this back to operational. So our newly reinvented JTA baseball team is going to have some nice facilities to use, and kids are learning a lot, getting to use some power tools, get some hands-on experience, like I said, having a pretty good time. All right.
My name is Gracie Russell. I am going into the 8th grade. I go to JTA, and right now we are working on making a batting cage.
So my name's Erin Ritter, and I am a 6th grade science teacher, but I'm teaching all middle school grade levels today in our summer STEM camp. This part of the camp, we are working on 2 different science lessons. We're working on a marshmallow ballistics unit, tying that into physics, and we are also working on a life science unit, and we are building fishing lures, and the kids have researched the types of fish that are that they can potentially catch at Freeman Lake Friday, and they are choosing the type of lure that they would like to use in order to catch the type of fish that they want to catch. So they have researched what fishing lures work best for which species and why those fishing lures work best for specific species, and going from there. And then later on today we will finish up our ballistics unit with some strategic battles with our marshmallow shooters. They hydro dipped them yesterday, so that was another life lesson in how color adheres to PVC and best practices for that. So we've had a lot of fun, and the kids have really enjoyed themselves, and hopefully they've learned a lot.
There we go, perfect. Okay, so you will have the names right there.
Show me the colors. Show me what colors.
Did it fall out?
I keep actually like sucking.
You can go on it back there. I got it this time.
He thinks he has the semi-automatic. Yeah, I'm just gonna start picking up some fish. I need more marshmallows.